Hi, my dear students. Hope you're doing well and focusing on your studies. Today, we are going to start with the chapter Diversity in Living Organisms. So, what does it mean when we say diversity in living organisms? We mean that there are varieties of living organisms on this earth. We can see different types of animals, we can see different types of plants. We know that there are different types of microorganisms. So, there are diversity in living organisms, which we also called as biodiversity. Biologists have identified and classified more than 1.7 million species of organisms on this earth. But how do we sort these organisms, or how do we classify these organisms into different categories? There is altogether a separate branch of biology called taxonomy, which identifies, names, and classifies different organisms present on the earth. The scientist Carolus Linnaeus is known as the father of modern taxonomy. Classification is the method of arranging organisms into groups or sets of basic similarities and differences. But what is the need of classifying these organisms? Have you ever been to a library? Of course you have. And in a library, you must have seen that there are so many books and they are arranged in different sections. There's a different section for the magazines, a different section for the novels, a different section for different subjects. Why do we do that? What is the need? We need to sort things out according to their characteristics, features, or the properties. Similarly, it is important to classify the organisms we have on this earth. Classification makes the study of various variety of organisms easy and systematic. Classification helps to understand how the organisms have evolved with time. Classification helps us to understand the interrelationships among different groups of organisms. And classification forms a base for the study of other biological sciences. Now, we have mentioned that classification helps us in understanding the evolution. What is evolution? Over a course of time, the living organisms go through changes and they accumulate these changes. These changes could be in their body type, their size, their features, their different body organs. These changes allow them to survive better with the change in the environment. This is called evolution. Evolution concept was introduced by Charles Darwin. So the gradual development over years is called evolution, or the process by which different kinds of living organisms are believed to have developed from their earlier forms to today is evolution. So classifying organisms helps us to understand how different types of organisms have evolved with time. Now the question is, on what basis should we classify organisms? So many scientists or biologists tried to classify the organisms on this earth on different characteristics. The features or properties used for the classification of living organisms are known as their characteristics. So different biologists came up with different theories. For example, Carolus Linnaeus in 1758 came up with two kingdom classification, in which he divided all the organisms into two categories, which are plants and animals. But it was rather a very simple classification, and there were many drawbacks to this classification. Like the firstly formed animals were neither plants nor animals, so they could not be placed under any category. Fungi differ in their structure, physiology, and reproductive details from plants, so there was no place for fungi in this classification. At lower level of organization, there are several instances where the distinction of plants and animals disappears. They show characteristics of plants also and animals also. Therefore, it was not possible to classify all the organisms of the earth into these two categories. Robert Whittaker in 1969 classified all the organisms into broad categories called kingdoms. The classification Whittaker proposed has 5 kingdoms, and these kingdoms are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. These groups are formed on the basis of the cell structures, mode and source of nutrition, and body organization of the organism. In 1977, Carl Weiss introduced a modification in Whittaker's system. Carl Weiss further divided kingdom Monera into Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Further classification is done by naming the subgroups at various levels. These levels are: first, kingdom; second, phylum for animals and division for plants; third, class; fourth, order; fifth, family; sixth, genus; and seventh, species. Species is thus called as the basic unit of classification. Species is a group of organisms which can be interbred with each other. So from kingdom to species, it's like the ascending order of detailing of the characteristics. But how did scientists came up with the idea of kingdoms? What scientists did were that they divided the organisms into these kingdoms based on some criteria, which are the organization inside the cells. That means whether the animals were prokaryotes or eukaryotes, the organization of the cells in the body, that is, if they are unicellular or multicellular, and then how organisms obtained their food, if they were autotrophs or heterotrophs. So organization inside the cell means prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Prokaryotic organisms were those which had no definite nucleus, and eukaryotic were those with a definite nucleus. So the important characteristics of the 5 kingdoms of Whittaker are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. Under the kingdom Monera, the bacteria are categorized. Monerans are those organisms which do not have a defined nucleus or organelles, nor do they have multicellular body designs. On the other hand, they show diversity based on many other characteristics. Some of the monerans have cell wall, while some do not. The mode of nutrition of organisms in monerans can be either by synthesizing their own food, that is, they can be autotrophic, or getting it from the environment, that is, heterotrophic. This group includes bacteria, blue-green algae, which is also known as cyanobacteria, and mycoplasma. Second group is Protista. This group includes many kinds of unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Some of these organisms have appendages such as hair-like cilia, whip-like flagella for moving around. Mode of nutrition in Protista can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. Protista examples are unicellular algae, diatoms, and protozoans. Fungi are heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms. Some of the fungi use decaying organic material as food and are therefore called saprotrophs. Whereas other fungi require a living protoplasm of a host organism for food. These are called parasites. Many of these have the capacity to become multicellular organisms at certain ages in their lives. They have cell walls made up of a tough complex sugar called chitin. Fungi examples are yeast, molds, and mushrooms. Some of the fungal species live in permanently mutually dependent relationships with the blue-green algae or the cyanobacteria. Such relationships are called symbiotic relationships. These symbiotic life forms are called lichens. Plantae. These are multicellular eukaryotic organisms with cell wall. They are autotrophic and use chlorophyll for photosynthesis or making their food. Animalia includes all the organisms which are multicellular eukaryotes without the cell wall. These organisms are heterotrophs. Let's just recall the five kingdom classification. According to this, organisms can be prokaryotic or eukaryotic. The prokaryotic organisms can be unicellular, under which we include the monerans. And under eukaryotes, there can be again of two categories, unicellular and multicellular. Under unicellular eukaryotes, we have Protista. Multicellular eukaryotes have again two categories, one with cell walls and one without the cell walls. Organisms with cell walls can again be of two categories, one which do not perform photosynthesis and another which is able to perform photosynthesis. With cell walls which do not perform photosynthesis are fungi, and with cell wall which do perform photosynthesis are plantae. Now moving back to the eukaryotes, multicellular eukaryotes without the cell wall are the Animalia. So the students was the gist of the five kingdom classification, but we still do need to study Plantae in detail. So plants can be of two types. First, which do not have a differentiated plant parts, means the plant body is not differentiated into different parts like leaves, roots, stem, and the other kind are the plants which have differentiated plant parts. So the ones do not have differentiated plant parts are the Thallophyta, and ones having differentiated plant parts can again be of two types, one without specialized vascular tissue and one with the vascular tissue. If you remember, the vascular tissues help the plant in conducting water and nutrients in the plant body. So coming back to the classification, without the vascular tissues are called Bryophyta, and those having vascular tissues can again be of two types, which are one which do not produce seeds and one which produce seeds. One which do not produce seeds are Pteridophyta, and the other which produce seeds are Phanerogams. Phanerogams can be of two types, one having naked seeds and the other having seeds inside the fruits, means the seeds are not naked, they are covered with the fruit. One having the naked seeds are the gymnosperms, and the one having seeds in the fruit are the angiosperms. Angiosperms can again be of two types, one having seeds with two cotyledons, these are called dicots, and the one having with only one cotyledon are called monocots. So this was quite complicated, so let us recall it again. Plants can be of two types, one which do not have differentiated body parts, these are thallophytes, one which have differentiated body parts. This can be of two types, one without specialized vascular tissues, these are bryophytes, and one with vascular tissues, and which can be of two types, one which do not produce seeds are pteridophytes, and one which do produce seeds are phanerogams. Phanerogams can be of two types, one with naked seeds are gymnosperms, and phanerogams with seeds inside the fruits are angiosperms. And angiosperms can be with two cotyledons, dicots, and one with having one cotyledon, which are the monocots. So we saw that the basis of classification in kingdom Plantae is the differentiated body parts, presence of vascular tissues, reproduction through seeds or spores, and seeds being naked or inside the fruit. Let us see the features of thallophytes. The basic and elementary plants have undifferentiated body parts. Generally, the thallophytes are called algae. Thallophytes have no vascular tissue present in them. Thallophytes reproduce through spores, and thallophytes are mainly found in water. Examples of thallophytes are Ulva, Spirogyra, Eulothrix, Cladophora, and Chara. Let us have a look at the features of bryophytes. Bryophytes, the body structure is differentiated but is not fully developed. There is no vascular tissue present. Bryophytes reproduce through spores. Bryophytes are found both on land and on water. Therefore, these are also known as the amphibians of kingdom Plantae. As we all know that the amphibians are the organisms which are able to survive both on land and water. Similarly, the bryophytes in plant kingdom are the only organisms which are found both on land and on water. So these are called the amphibians of Plantae kingdom. Examples of bryophytes are liverwort, mosses, hornwort. Let's have a look at the features of pteridophytes. Pteridophytes have differentiated body structures. They have proper leaves, stems, roots, etc. Vascular tissues in Pteridophyta are present. Pteridophytes reproduce through spores. Examples of pteridophytes are fern, horsetails, marsilia. Let's see the features of gymnosperms. Gymnosperms differentiated body parts are present. Vascular tissues are present. Gymnosperms have naked seeds without fruits or flowers. They are evergreen, woody, and perennial. Examples of gymnosperms are pines, deodar, cycas, and ginkgo. Let's study about the angiosperms. These are also called the flowering plants. The seeds develop inside an ovary, which is modified to become a fruit. Plant embryos in seeds have structures called the cotyledons. Cotyledons are also called seed leaves because in many instances they emerge and become green when the seeds germinate. The angiosperms are again divided into two groups on the basis of number of cotyledons present in the seeds, and these categories are monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Okay, so now we have to discuss the kingdom Animalia in detail. Let's see what are the bases of classification of Animalia kingdom. Firstly, the symmetry of organism. Based on the symmetry, an organism can be bilateral or radial symmetry. Bilateral symmetry, it is when an organism can be divided into left and right halves identical but mirror images by single vertical plane. Like human body is also bilaterally symmetrical. When we cut our body from the center into left and right halves, we will get two identical halves. Second type of symmetry is the radial symmetry, in which if you cut an organism from any plane, you will get identical halves. For example, a starfish. Second basis of classification of Animalia kingdom are the germ layers. In embryonic stages, there are different layers of cells called the germ layers. Three different types of germ layers are ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Ecto means outer. Ectoderm is the outermost layer which forms the nail, hair, epidermis, etc. Endoderm, endo means the inner. Endoderm is the innermost layer which forms the stomach, colon, urinary bladder, etc. And mesoderm, it is the middle layer between the endoderm and the ectoderm, and it forms bones, cartilages, etc. So, based on the number of germ layers present in the embryonic stage of an animal can be of two types, diploblastic or triploblastic. Diploblastic, organisms which derived from two embryonic germ layers, that is ectoderm and endoderm, and triploblastic, organisms which are derived from all the three embryonic germ layers, which are endoderm, ectoderm, and mesoderm. Examples of diploblastic are jellyfish, coral, sea anemones, and the triploblastic animals include many vertebrates, starfish, many worms. Third basis of classification is coelom. Coelom is the body cavity and is important for proper functioning of various organs. For example, heart, which has to contract and expand, needs some cavity or empty space which is provided by the coelom. So coelom is simply the body cavity of an organism. Now, on the basis of presence or absence of coelom, organisms can be of two types. Acoelomates means without the coelom, and coelomates means having the coelom. Acoelomates are complex organisms having the true cavity lined by mesoderm from all the sides. There is a third category based on the presence or absence of coelom. It is called pseudocoelomate. These are the organisms having false coelom. Pseudo means false. They have pouches of mesoderm scattered between endo and ectoderms. So neither are they coelomates nor are they acoelomates. They are between coelomates and acoelomates. They have just the pouches of mesoderm scattered between endoderm and exoderm. Fourth criteria is the presence of notochord. Notochord is a long rod-like structure which runs along the body between the nervous tissue and gut and provides place for muscles to attach for the ease of movement. Organisms could be without notochord, with notochord, or with notochord in initial or the embryonic stages, and vertebral column in the adult phase. Now let us see how organisms are divided into different phylums in kingdom Animalia. Phylum 1 is Porifera or the sponges. The features of Porifera are It has cellular level of organization. These organisms are non-motile animals, they do not move. There are holes on the body which led to the canal system for circulation of water and food. Now, what is canal system? Body of all the sponges are perforated by large number of holes through which water enters inside the body and flows through a system of crisscross canals which collectively form the canal system. The poriferans have hard outside layer which is known as the skeleton. Examples of organisms belonging to Porifera phylum are Cycon and Spongilla. Moving on to the next phylum, it is called the Coelenterata. Let's see the features. It has tissue level of organization. Remember the previous one, which was the phylum Porifera, they had cellular level of organization, and Coelenterata has tissue level of organization. Coelenterata, there is no coelom. The organisms have radial symmetry and are diploblastic. They have hollow gut. These organisms can move from one place to another. The examples of coelenterates are hydra, sea anemone, jellyfish, and corals. Moving on to the next phylum, it is called Ctenophores. Let's look at the features. There is tissue level of organization. No coelom is present. Radial symmetry of organisms, and they are diploblastic. Ctenophores have comb plates for locomotion and they are aquatic. Next phylum is Platyhelminthes. The features of Platyhelminthes are, these are also called flatworms. There is no coelom present. They have bilateral symmetry and are triploblastic. The organisms are free-living or parasite. The digestive cavity of these organisms has one opening for both ingestion and egestion. And the examples of platyhelminths are Planaria and liver fluke. Next phylum is Nematode. Nematodes have false coelom or pseudocoelom. They have bilateral symmetry. These organisms are triploblastic. They are cylindrical. Many of the nematodes are parasitic worms living inside the human body and can cause various diseases like the filarial worm causes elephantiasis. Roundworms and pinworms live in human intestine. The examples of nematodes are Ascaris and Wuchereria. Next phylum is Mollusca. Phylum Mollusca has the following basic features. The coelom is present in mollusk. They are triploblastic and have bilateral symmetry. Mollusks have soft bodies and sometimes is covered with shell. Generally, the body is not segmented. There are no appendages present on mollusk body. Muscular foot is present for movement. Shell is present and kidney-like organ is present for excretion. Example of mollusk are octopus, pila, unio, and chiton. Next phylum is phylum Annelida. Let's look at the basic features. Annelida is the second largest phylum. Coelom is present in these organisms. The organisms are bilateral and triploblastic. The body is segmented. Annelida can live both on water and on land. There is extensive organ differentiation in the annelids. And the examples of annelids are earthworm, leech, and Nereis. Another phylum is phylum Arthropoda. Arthropoda is the largest phylum and consists of 80% of the species. Arthropoda are generally known as insects also, and the coelom is present in arthropods. They are bilaterally symmetrical. The body is triploblastic. The body is segmented and sometimes fused. The body has tough exoskeleton made up of chitin, and the joint appendages like feet or antenna are present. Examples of arthropods are prawn, scorpio, cockroach, housefly, butterfly, and spider. Next phylum is phylum Echinodermata. The features of this phylum are the body is spiny, and these organisms are marine organisms. They have no notochord. Coelom is present. The body is bilaterally symmetrical and are triploblasts. Endoskeleton of calcium carbonate is present in the body. Water vascular system is used for locomotion. One special feature is that they are bilaterally symmetrical before birth and radially symmetrical after birth. Examples of echinoderms are antodon, sea cucumber, starfish, and echinus. The next phylum is Hemichordata. Hemichordata are a small group of marine animals. They are cylindrical, bilateral symmetry, and triploblastic. Coelom is present in these organisms and gills for respiration are present. The example of Hemichordata are Balanoglossus. Next phylum is phylum Chordata. The animals have bilateral symmetry of chordata. Animals are triploblastic. Coelom is present. Notochord is present. Gills are present at some phase of life. Dorsal nerve cord is present. Post-anal tail is present at some stage of life. For example, post-anal tail is present in humans at embryonic stages. Now the chordata are divided into two: prochordata and vertebrata. Prochordata are those in which the notochord is present at some stage of life. These animals are marine, and examples of prochordata are Herdimania and Amphioxus. Vertebrata, these animals have notochord converted into the vertebral column. These animals have 2, 3, or 4 chambered heart. The organs like kidney for excretion is present, and they have a pair of appendages for locomotion. Examples of vertebrates are humans, they have 4-chambered heart, frogs, they have 3-chambered heart, and fishes having 2-chambered hearts. The vertebrates are further divided into 6 classes, namely Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and Mammalia. Cyclostomes are jawless vertebrates. They are characterized by having an elongated eel-like body. They have circular mouth, slimy skin, and are scaleless. They are ectoparasites or borers of other vertebrates. Examples of cyclostomes are pteromyzon or the lampreys, myxine or the hagfishes. Pisces are the fish. They are exclusively aquatic animals. Their skin is covered with scales or plates. These organisms obtain oxygen dissolved in water by using their gills. The body is streamlined and a muscular tail is used for the movement. They are cold-blooded organisms. That means those organisms which cannot control their body temperature. These organisms have their heart having only 2 chambers, unlike the 4 that humans have. Pisces lay eggs. Some of these have skeletons made entirely of cartilage, such as sharks, some with a skeleton made of both bone and cartilage, for example, tuna or rohu. Amphibia. These animals differ from fish in the lack of scales, in having mucus glands in the skin and a 3-chambered heart. Respiration is through either gills or lungs. Amphibians lay eggs. Amphibians are found both in water and on land. Examples of amphibians are frogs, toads, and salamanders. Reptilia. Reptilia are cold-blooded animals. They have scales and breathe through lungs. Reptilians, most of them have 3-chambered hearts. Crocodile is an exception. Crocodiles have 4-chambered heart. They lay eggs. The reptilians lay eggs with tough covering and they do not need to lay egg in water, unlike the amphibians. Examples of reptilians are snakes, turtles, lizards, and crocodiles. Aves. Aves are the warm-blooded animals and they have 4-chambered heart. Aves lay eggs. There is an outside covering of feathers and 2 forelimbs are modified for flight in aves. Aves breathe through lungs and all the birds fall in this category. That means all the birds are aves. Mammalia. Mammals are warm-blooded animals with 4-chambered heart. Mammals have mammary gland for the production of milk, which is used to nourish their young ones. The skin of the mammals have hair as well as sweat and oil glands on it. Most mammals produce the young ones. They do not lay egg. However, few of them like platypus and echidna lay eggs, and some like kangaroo give birth to very poorly developed young ones. Examples of mammals are cat, bat, rat, and humans. So students, this is how around 1.7 million species of organisms were classified by our scientists. Hope you will remember all the terminologies and the bifurcations of the division, kingdoms and phylums. Good luck learning them. Signing off.